And we are back. We've been away for a while. I hope you missed us. And we're back now each week for Divorce TV show. I've got the usual fantastic array of guests. We're starting off with our expert today, Cowe Miller. Susan is a trained in counselling, but Susan uses other tools, which she's going to tell us more about. And they're really fascinating tools too. We've got a shared story with Kimberly Ewertz, who's written a book with shared stories of those to do with divorce. You'll see when we get there. And also healing with Tina Slade, who's going to do some quantum healing with us at the end. But first, we're going to round up with the latest divorce news. We're going to start with a wonderful story in the Louisville Courier-Journal. You won't believe this. Right, Kentucky couple was denied a divorce for being too nice to each other in court. This is not a joke. Douglas and Nicole Potts both wanted a divorce. They swore under oath their marriage was irreparably broken, but a judge has refused to grant them a decree. The reason, she said, was the couple was too nice to each other in court. In a decision condemned by divorce lawyers, Bullitt Family Court Judge Monica Meredith at least temporarily declined to dissolve the Potts' 13-year marriage, which both insist can't be salvaged. In an August the 23rd order, continuing the case and suggesting the couple undergo counselling, Meredith observed they were respectful and courteous towards one another, and both held themselves in dignified and mature composure. Meredith, who was elected to family court in 2018, said divorce court does not typically bring that demeanour out in its participants. No kidding. But in interviews and emails, a half-dozen family lawyers said Meredith's order was inappropriate, unlawful and ridiculous. Family lawyer Elizabeth Howell said it is bad public policy to incentivise parties to have a messy or acrimonious divorce merely to prove their marriage is broken. It sends a terrible message to litigants. You are better served by acting like a petulant child in court than by acting mature, said Louisville attorney Hal Helmers, who wasn't involved in this case. 99% of divorce lawyers agree with the above, and we can never agree on anything, Helmers said in an email. Bullitt Family Court Judge Monica Meredith ordered both to file affidavits saying if they participated openly and honestly in counselling to determine whether reconciliation of the marriage is achievable and whether the party is willing to continue in counselling. Meredith noted both spouses worked together extraordinarily well historically and have continued to do so, for the most part as regards their child. They have one child, a daughter who is 9, which is probably why they're making such an effort to get on. Meredith also ordered both sides to refrain, this is great, from introducing their daughter to anyone they are dating or talk to her about that until the divorce is filed. Moreover, she said if they are dating, contact between the child and the dating interest shall cease. Douglas Potts' attorney, Dorothy Ripka, said Meredith misconstrued their maturity and civility as co-parents for a desire to reconcile their marriage. Nicole's attorney, Sidney Veek, said the court should have accepted the numerous sworn statements from both sides that the marriage was finished. There was nothing left to save in this situation, she said. Her client had requested permission to move to another state, further proof their union was over. I believe the Bullitt Family Court judge's order in this case was inappropriate and not supported by Kentucky law, Veek said. Veek called the portion of Meredith's order on dating restrictions a completely unacceptable exercise of judicial power. If the court were authorised to project its own judgment upon issues not before it, everyone should be concerned, Veek said. Where does the limit end? Divorce lawyers unconnected to the case say the judge in effect punished the Pottses for acting reasonably and required them to spend more money and pursuing their right to have their marriage dissolved. Another family lawyer, Louise Waterman, said, I would not substitute my judgment for two adults who want to get divorced. What do you think? Feel free to share in the comments. This is a tricky one. What happens to frozen embryos after divorce? Frozen embryos can be a byproduct of couples trying to conceive Using artificial reproductive technology, embryos may be left over after previous treatments, and what happens to unused genetic material will be life-altering. Your doctor's office may have had you and your spouse sign an agreement. I would have thought they should always get you to sign an agreement before beginning in vitro fertilisation to specify what would happen to any frozen embryos if you were to divorce. Typical choices include having them destroyed or donated to medical research or to a third party. Some couples have elected to allow one spouse to decide later. The feelings you may have had about the issue when you signed the contract as a happy couple may be different from the feelings you have upon divorcing. Worse, you may not have realised the contract you signed was legally binding. The issue can be especially complex if either spouse has become infertile due to cancer treatment, for example, and the frozen embryos are their only chance to have a biological child, but the other spouse does not want to have a child or another child with their soon-to-be ex. The other spouse could be saddled with unwanted parental rights and responsibilities, such as providing child support. A 2020 court decision in the Arizona Supreme Court ruled that an infertile divorced woman could not use her frozen embryos because her ex-husband did not want to have a child with her, citing his liability for child support under Arizona law, according to a report by NBC News. A court may uphold that contract even if it specifies that the embryos be destroyed against an infertile spouse's wishes, according to a 2021 report in the New York Times. However, a court may also rule that state law supersedes a fertility contract. In Arizona, the courts will award the embryos to the party most likely to use them to create life, assuming a fertility contract was signed after the state's new law passed in late 2019. So if you've had anything like that, do please share in the comments. It's really tricky stuff, and I don't think there's any right or wrong, but this is stuff that people really need to think about carefully before they sign anything. But make sure they at least have some kind of an agreement in place. And last but not least, just when you thought you could get away from it all, it's Brexit. UK's role in divorce litigation will be hit by EU dispute, says lawyers. Brussels' opposition, according to the FT, to Britain's attempt to join the Lugano Convention could add uncertainty to family breakups. A European Commission plan to block the UK from joining an international legal cooperation agreement after Brexit will inflict serious complications on divorce settlements and child maintenance awards, lawyers have warned. Brussels said last month the UK should not be allowed to join the 2007 Lugano Convention, an agreement that determines which countries' courts have a jurisdiction over cross-border civil and commercial disputes and ensures that the resulting judgments can be enforced abroad. The recommendation by the Commission to prevent UK accession after Brexit was seen as an attempt to erode London's position as a global centre for commercial dispute resolution. But lawyers said it would now bring painful and costly legal uncertainty to family breakups. Rachel Kelsey, president of the European chapter of the International Academy of Family Lawyers, urged the Commission to reconsider its position for the sake of millions of EU and UK citizens with family relationships that straddle the English Channel. A year ago, we could say with total confidence and clarity, this court has jurisdiction, this is how long a case will take, and this is the cost ballpark. But now, that is no longer the case, she said. We need to put politics aside and recognise that there are millions of EU and UK citizens who are going to be prejudiced if we don't end up with a better set of harmonised rules, said Kelsey. And on that note, if you are in that situation of having a cross-channel divorce, you definitely need to get your ducks in a row and get information. Do please get in touch through the free Best Way to Divorce app. Come and talk to us and keep yourself out of court, because when you go to court, things can get very confusing. My first expert guest today is Susan Cowe Miller, who's a health coach. So prepare to learn some very interesting things about how to de-stress and prevent or resolve chronic illnesses in ways that you might not have tried before. Welcome, Susan.
Hi.
So let's start with, should we start with something very sort of simple and practical? One of the things I often recommend to people when I'm talking to them is to, if they're worried about, let's say, going into mediation or worried about conversations they're going to have and their stress levels are rising, they might not be able to sort of pop off to have a counselling session, but you've got a much quicker fix for that, haven't you? Perhaps you can, let's start with talking about the quick fix.
Well, I work with EFT, the tapping technique, which is used to relieve stress, reduce stress, manage stress, get rid of stress and anxiety and confidence issues. So, this, as a quick fix, the tapping on the energy channels of the body, specific acupuncture areas, helps one to feel in control very quickly. It might be a quick fix, but it's a very, very effective quick fix. I'm not talking deep healing, because a deep healing is an extremely wonderful tool, but it's certainly much quicker than. I mean, I have a counselling background. It's not a speaking therapy; it's an energy releasing therapy.
And it's
Feel
something that you
better.
can teach your children as well. So it's not just for.
Oh, absolutely. And it's good thing. I used to be a teacher before my life went haywire and I needed to figure out how I was going to feel better, etc. And it's wonderful. It's used in schools now in a lot of cases, which is absolutely fantastic, because the younger someone addresses a fear or a particular stress and releases it, it's not held within the body. So if you can do that at 8-year-old or 6-year-old rather than 36 or 66, your quid's in.
So let's talk about that whole held in the body, because that's something I used to have no idea about. But then in my own journey discovered that all that stress, that trauma, because I didn't release it, it definitely came back to bite me. So that takes us in more into the deeper healing. And is that where matrix re-imprinting comes in?
Not as such, because the matrix re-imprinting, we start with the tapping, but very quickly we can go into our own issues that have caused us to need to find techniques to reduce our stress. So the matrix re-imprinting is used very quickly within a stress relieving or an investigation to find out what anxieties are heightened. The matrix re-imprinting is, we jump straight into that. It's an extension of EFT, and you can visualize, for example, if you were going to be going into a mediation, or you were in a state of absolute overwhelm, when you're working with someone guiding you to briefly sense the reduction in stress, you can immediately take yourself off. I immediately close my eyes and I'm flapping my hands, sorry. You immediately take yourself off and you can see yourself in the scenario and you can work about how you want to feel during this. It is within your capabilities of empowering yourself at a level you wouldn't believe.
Is it almost like tapping, just to keep it simple for me, tapping is a great immediate way to alter the way you react to things, and the matrix re-imprinting allows you to, at a deeper level, alter those ongoing, so you don't need to do the quick fixes anymore.
That's right. The tapping is used to find out and reduce stress levels. I must put my hands on my lap. I'm just trying to get my head round, and
Well,
I'm
actually, I'll tell
distracting
you
myself.
what would be great is, because you've discovered, it's not like you got up one morning and decided to learn all this. As you said, you've already did counselling, you had a career in teaching. So what was it that drew you to this, and have you used it in your own life?
Oh, I used it in my own life, because when my marriage ended badly with divorce and death all involved, the trauma was enormous. The stress was enormous. The overwhelm, the feelings of or disbelief, and then you shut down. I'm not talking about depression. I'm talking about you block these things So they're held at a cellular level in the body. And there I go again. So they're held in the body, but they can be released. And I discovered Reiki, but then I discovered EFT, and it's an energy therapy. I also had learned, I'd done very, very many levels of counselling, but that, to me, I mean, it's a speaking therapy. It's figuring out your answers. It's long potential pauses of silence, whereas the energy work, straight in there. One can feel really much better, much quicker, instantly. Quick fix to a degree, but potentially the empowerment that's felt when you have reduced, when you've cleared, when you've dropped those anxieties and the fears and the overwhelm are enormous. They're substantial, you know.
So having discovered that it helps you with your overwhelm, how can you give us some examples that are relevant to anyone in a divorce or the stress of co-parenting, especially if they've got a very difficult co-parent to navigate? Give us some examples of how these techniques have really helped them in sort of specific ways.
For people who are in a state of, for example, the divorce procedure, with what's going on, all the different things that would appear to have priority, finance, and the legal side. You know, if you are not able to be calm, relatively confident, collected, in control, then the process is going to be extremely traumatic. And further down the line, when things are getting sorted, your body, your physical body kicks in. So it's essential that you manage to the very best of your ability. When I was in this situation, you know, I was fairly blinkered. I decided I was going down a route of divorce. And I now know that the stresses and the determination and the fixed thoughts and emotions and beliefs that I was justified in doing what I was doing came back and bit me at a physical level, because the body holds on to it. So managing stress is essential. I hope that has some, and if you can manage that, if you can plan things and have tools to use as you're going through the finances, which might be deeply distressing, the legal things which are deeply distressing, if you have tools and techniques and can use visualization and also meditation, but have this tool, for example, tapping, which you can use for 5 minutes, 10 minutes daily, and the results that you can sense straight away are enormous, and you'll see that they're only beneficial to manage these emotions as you deal with divorce.
So all the attendees who are getting in at the moment for the next Divorcing a Difficult Spouse workshop, and I'm saying to them, go and talk to the financial planner and look at the worst case scenario. And I know that's hard, but you've got to look at all the options and do the numbers, because sometimes it's less scary. And I'm thinking in my head, what I'm asking of them is so massive. But so if I'm saying to them, go and have a session with Susan first, and you'll find it's so much easier to look at those different scenarios and be able to stand back and be less emotionally basically petrified by them, and that it doesn't, there is a way to do that. That's fantastic. And and that helps you. Can you give an example, a specific example of how it helps you?
A specific example of how I know it helped me is that I can catch my breath when I'm about to, or was about to, veer off in a direction which wasn't going to serve me or serve anything I was wanting to do. It's understanding that your behaviour, your emotional responses are not serving the result that you wish and hope to have. And that's all I can repeat and say. it's something that people overlook until afterwards, as I'll deal with that afterwards. If you can manage your it also opens opportunities to see different opportunities that are coming when you're in a clearer state rather than panic and overload.
I think you can become your own worst enemy, and I certainly have that experience talking to people sometimes, and you just think, oh my goodness, and they're so stressed that they're making
Well,
assumptions that are so damaging, and then
yeah,
and it's crazy. Okay, so yeah, no, that very much resonates with me, and certainly in my own life as well. Thank you very much, Susan, and I look forward to you coming on again soon to do one of your lovely healings.
will do. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Bye bye then.
Bye.
Lovely, fascinating stuff, and it's like many things. You need to give it a try to have a look. So if you, I have got. It's the last I'll be doing this year of the Divorcing a Difficult Spouse workshops, and part of the ticket prize is you get a complimentary session with all of the experts, and one of those experts is Susan. Now we're going to have a different kind of masterclass. I'm not going to be doing any teaching. I'm just going to be showing you a video I made at film school recently, just to it was a beautiful poem. It's one I share in my TEDx, and I came across it the other day, and I thought it would be appropriate to put it on here. So this is for all of you who are considering or in the middle of dealing with the co-parenting, dealing with divorce, and in danger of using the children as weapons. Our marriage is spiraling, spinning beyond our control, and we have wounded each other. Love lost, vow broken, ring thrown. First, we used silence as weapons. Then we used words, and then fists. The arms race was swift and impressive. Our hands are now empty. They twist in the dust. We have thrown everything away but our anger, and still we have to keep fighting. But there is one thing we can do together. Let's use the children as infantry. Let's use the children as spies. Let's bring them up with the director's cut, with spin and with spite and with lies. Let's use the children as weapons. Let's use the children as snares. There'll be plenty more years of reprisals if we make our unhappiness theirs.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Sing parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme.
What's your message as someone who's 13 to parents who are going through family breakup with regard to Christmases in the future?
With regard to Christmases, break up right, please don't fight.
And what does that mean?
It means break up without fighting loads and still be friends. So you can spend Christmas together and not annoy your kids.
Cut.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? She once was a true love of mine.
Always makes me nearly cry when I hear that poem. And that is an ideal intro, in fact, to my next guest, Kimberly. And we're going to be talking about shared stories. And welcome, Kimberly, to the show. And you tell everyone, you've written an amazing book, haven't you? So tell everyone who doesn't already know you what it is you've written and the story that you're going to share with us today.
Okay, well, I am a divorced parent, so I know the struggle that journey involves and how it affects the children. But when I was researching on what kind of books were out there to help parents throughout that time, I didn't find anything that gave the viewpoint of the child. So I decided to do that. And I interviewed 10 different children of divorce. 9 of them are adult children. So they're reflecting back on that time in their lives when their parents divorced and how that has impacted their lives throughout their life up until the time, I spoke to them. So today I was going to tell you a little bit about Noah, who was 9 years old when his parents decided to divorce, and their decision of joint physical custody of him and his 3-year-old sister resulted in the children shuffling back and forth from home to home on a regular basis every single week. And this unstructured lifestyle, coupled with his mother's kind of irresponsible parenting style, resulted in a lack of stability for Noah, which still affects him today.
And through that story, so you set out, there's something that I think a lot of us as co-parents will recognise. We're not always doing the job as perfectly as we might. So how did that story pan out for Noah?
Unfortunately, his relationship with his mother has never improved. She later on in life, he found out from his father, who didn't share it at the time of the divorce, but his mother had a bipolar disease. And so whenever he was spending time with her, which he chose to do a lot because she gave him free reign, he had TV, he had video games, that was the fun environment. But on the other hand, he was also put in what they call parentification role, where the parent puts the responsibility on the child to not only raise themselves and his sister, but also to help her. So time and again, he was put in situations where he was just not emotionally or mature or evolved enough to even understand what was going on, and yet he was expected to fix it. So he said he still gets angry about that today, and he's joined support groups to help him work through that anger. But his father, who, was the more structured one and provided him, the role model he needed, their relationship is wonderful. So
and I think that, thank goodness, when you have 2 parents, whether or not they're together, if one of them is struggling, and mental illness is such a big issue for so many, if just one of you can stay and be the rock, that is is a lifesaver for those children. So would you say the kind of, not the moral of the story, but the typical outcome, and Noah's an example of this, is that because he has an awareness of this, that he's able to seek support for some of the consequences, because there are consequences to him, but at the end of the day, he does also have this solid relationship with his father, so it's not as bad as it could have been for him.
Oh, definitely. And he really treasures that relationship with his father. And even though when he was growing up, he didn't, necessarily like the rules and regulations and making him do his homework and go to school, he now appreciates so much, that his father instilled that in him, while his mother was, the total extreme opposite end of the spectrum. And he himself is now a father, which he he expresses as the, one of the most joyful events of his life. And he uses his father as a role model. So yeah, he came out of a difficult situation, but he made the best of it. And he's trying to be the best parent he can with his wife to their daughter.
Brilliant. That's a positive, a beautiful story. And ultimately, it's fair to say for any parents who are listening for this, it is hard to be the one who's setting the rules and putting in the boundaries. But, be reassured, ultimately, it's the best thing for your children. Yes. Don't let them run wild just so that you'll be popular. And that's hard. That's very hard for the non-resident parent, because they want to be Santa Claus every day, but actually it's offers, it's not helping their relationship with their children. Often it's much better when the parents can cooperate and work together and be a force together.
I think the children during this time of divorce and afterwards, they need that structure all the more, because they're, what was their stability was the home and their parents and their role models. And now all of that has been taken away because Noah's parents had to sell their family home because of financial reasons. So he lost the family home as well as, the role model of what a family is. And so he wasn't ever spending time in his childhood home. He was always going from one environment to another, and they were so extreme. It was a difficult situation for him. So you have to try, parents have to try and set up lifestyles that kind of are similar to each household, which makes the transition of going from one home to the other so much better for the child. So we all need to remember that for their sake.
Brilliant. Great advice, Kimberly. Thank you. And I look forward to having you back on the show soon.
Well, I look forward to being here. Thank you, Susie.
And coming to co-parenting plans, which is the very thing that really does help you put in those boundaries for you as parents, as co-parents. It's how are you going to do this unless you're prepared to commit to some kind of something that's beyond just your diary. So within the free to download Best Way to Divorce app, bestwaytodivorce.online will take you straight there on any phone. If you go into the welcome pack, which you'll be able to find in there, you'll find a area called co-parenting resources, and in there is Split Smart, which is a template for a co-parenting plan. And it's ideal. It's actually created by someone who's I'm going to get him back soon as well, a guest who's been a guest on the show, and he had a very, very difficult divorce with a very, very difficult co-parent, and that's why he made this software. So don't think it's there for people who are already getting on. It's definitely a good idea. If you're not getting on, even more reason to use it. So if you can't find it or you want any help with it, when you download the app, just message me from the free support group, you'll see, and I'll be able to show you where it is. Now we're coming to the healing, so get comfortable, breathe, relax, and we're gonna do something special. And we're going to introduce here Tina Slade, who is going to do some quantum healing. Have I got that right?
You have, Susie. So thank you so much for allowing me on your show. I am a quantum light language energy healer. And what that means is I work within your energy field, your quantum field. And if we sort of conceptualize that, we're talking about your soul's blueprint. We're talking about your originality. And I work for my light language. And my light language is a connection to, a bit technical here, my multidimensional galactic self. So we have had multiple lifetimes of reincarnation on Earth and off Earth, on other planets. And I am just connecting into my my source, my energy. And it's not something that just I have, my light language. We all have it. It's an ancient form of coding. And I activate it for many of my clients as well. But it's super powerful. It comes in with knowledge. It comes in with frequency encoding. You'll hear it when I start channeling, and it comes in to remove energetic blockages that we hold within the holographic body. And we have those energy blockages because we have trauma within our lives. We create situations where we're learning and evolving our soul. And very much like Susan said, absolutely, when we hold on to low frequency energies, for instance, anger, fear, rejection, abandonment, all of those that lump into the low energy fields, the low timelines, they manifest as illness within the holographic body because they reduce our frequency. And through light language, I come in and I'm able to remove that through the energy field from my clients. They feel immediately a release, they feel lighter. And also, I do many different things within my light language. And I talk about the reasons why they've incarnated now, what they've brought from past lifetimes. We go in and change those through the light language. So that's what I'm going to offer you today. I'm so grateful to share it. It's such a powerful healing modality, and it's around frequency and soul healing.
And so whether someone is a divorcee or a stress lawyer, this will be equally appropriate. They don't need to be scared. Nothing scary is going to happen. So just give them a sense before I move you onto the full screen to take over. Do they just sit quietly, listen, close their eyes? Just give them a little bit of a warning about what's coming.
Okay, all I want everyone to do, I'm going to talk through once I start my healing, is I just want everyone to be heart-centered and to literally just release all of their resistance, something perhaps they haven't experienced before. So I'm third generation psychic. I'm also a medium. I am a Reiki master. I'm a QHHT practitioner doing the work of Dolores Cannon. So you're in absolute safe hands. I work with clients all over the world. I am really busy. So just because perhaps they're not aware of light language, it will resonate on a level. So all I'm asking everyone to do is just be open to receive.
Brilliant. I think we can all manage to do that for 10 minutes. So
absolutely. Take that time just to chill out.
I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So if I can ask you all, please, to find yourself a comfortable position, whether you're sitting down or laying down. And it's so difficult for us to find some time for ourselves, so really take this moment in time just to settle down. Try and release anything that's been in mind, all the things that have been happening to you today, last week, or anything you're holding on to. Let's simply clear the mind through. Release and let go. So make yourself comfortable. And I'm going to ask you to imagine some beautiful fibrous roots coming down through the soles of your feet and push them down into earth, into Mother Earth, and either create a colour or maybe a crystal and just wrap those roots around there, making sure you're stable and you are anchored down. And then imagine from the top of your head, from your crown, opening up, and a corridor of white light just runs from the crown all the way up into a beautiful white ball of source energy. And then before we start, imagine please that there is a beautiful pyramid of shimmering white light, which is placed completely above, as it is below and underneath you. So you are completely protected within the light. And now, allow all those thoughts just to drift from the mind. Just allow them to be released. And I'd like you, please, and I invite you to start to focus on the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. And you're breathing in light, and you exhale all those tensions. And as you're exhaling down, drop your shoulders. Let all that tension just come from the body. So just breathe in, release out, and create a pattern of breathing that allows with each breath you to simply drop down and relax. And I ask you just to listen to my voice. Take the coding, the light language. You don't have to understand it, you just need to feel it. So we're going to set the intention of removing all low frequency energy held within the heart center, within the heart chakras. And if you are going through a divorce, or if you are perhaps at the end of a divorce, and if you are also co-parenting, you may have a whole myriad of emotions which are unseen but are felt. So when we start this work, I'm asking you to look for any feelings of anger, any feelings of abandonment and rejection, any feelings of unworthiness, any feelings of fear or shame, anything that you feel has been a result of the trauma that you've gone through. And what I'd like you to do is just expand your heart space. And as you breathe in, you can imagine the heart space maybe as a balloon, and you're just expanding that, opening it up so that I can come forward to release some of that energy for you. So simply breathe, expand and release. Shonokor sotoya manaskade niesa nosoya anasoya. Inikite sa manaskodoshe manora kadara. Inesha nosokotoina ma anasaikete. Ursotoshe monoskotoina anasa. Inishe monoskotoina anakoto. Inee manaskadai nikite skotorno. Inesha manaskodoya ta kite sonokosha manaso. Inee masaye toskotoya nahata. And if you are holding on to the warrior, if you are holding on to that fight, just allow yourself to release and let go. Dieska manaskade negede, osukotoya mokotoya mahanataye, inesha monoskota. You are safe. Ie padaskadai nikiske dorktoya manasayeto, orsotoshe manaskadaye, inikiteska dorkotoya mahana ene, ushe mahata ite, dorsoya monoskoyata ishe, ursoya mana, ie keteta padaska, onosoya hana. And now I'm going to come forward, and we're looking for that energy, that heaviness. Sortoishe meniskadai nikitiskator nosha manaskadai nikiskator kotoshkara manasaye. Unishena skadai didiskadidis kotoshkator marare skariatas kokara maniaskatoshkanidis kariatas koyoto ushe. Unisha. Breathe in and release. Let everything come up from that heart center. And you might find that there's a slight blockage around the throat. We're going to just come in and shift that for you too. So what we want to do is just bring that energy up. Dorso and manaskariesco, doshka maradiesco, didisco, paradiesco, uso, mosor, naso yete. And just breathe and release it out. Breathe it out. Gotoya manasaye, iniseka, usha, oto, oka, panasa, inese meniskador nokoyeta, ineshapa, oskoto, inahata. And as we're releasing out, you might find that there's a lump in the throat center, in the heart, and also in the throat. And this comes when we hold on our voice, when we feel that we don't have a voice, we are not heard. So take your awareness, please, up into the throat. Usoya maska, and breathe it out. Breathe everything out. Let it go. Ursoy on an ishar iktor soy ara shona soya kite sora nisi nahata usiyeta. Use the breath to bring the energy up, releasing it out. Iniskadai niskato nokotoya inishamanaskadaya. As I hold this space for you, breathe and release. Dosono koshka nakarasadaya nakiskadora kotoya makatadie. Inisha nasokotoya nana saye. Ursoyama, osoyama, onasoya. Usoya setapa nasaye. Nasa. And just feel everything just releasing, flowing out of the energy field. All those feelings, let them go. There is no place. Do not allow the past to hold you back from your light. Ie shamonosko dee nahanasoto, inisha ato. You have got this. Kataya nikite doso, inisha monosko doya akata. You have such an inner strength. Gorosoto shemeniska, orsotoya manaska daye, inisha, inisha, inisha. Just release dosoya makoska, inishato, and just allow those energies just to fall away. Breathe, expand, open yourself to forgiveness. Koya manaskadaye nikide, ursoya mahodeya dasa, ishemono koya ba, iniesata, soko koya monosoyata, inishatoto, samako, inikitato sunyata, iniesho orsoya a. And I'm just going to create a ball of white light coding dis das dos osh is dorsoi on and in ik dorsoi or otabanska yesos kuriataskia. And I want you to breathe in and bring this into the heart space now. Usuye nisa. Breathe in and bring in this beautiful white energy coding 6541661599961. Coding. Remembrance, this is your strength. Bring it in, absorb, integrate, bring all that beautiful light in. And then just also, because we know that there's blockages in the throat, bring that light up into the throat center. Ie shamono soyeta ite, uskitana sayeto oko, iniminiskadaye, usha, ana, otorokotoi, inishakata iska, oso. Tosh, also yaman. And just feel the energies, allow that peace, that calm to come through the field. As I place over you a beautiful ball of white light of protection. Orsoya manaskadai nikite, useya monosko, inesha makatai nikisa. Oskoyama anasa, orsoyama niseta. And just simply allow that frequency to come into the holographic body. And when you're ready, bring your awareness back into the here and now. Feel yourself on the chair, feel your feet on the ground. And when you are ready to open your eyes to come back, do so knowing that you hold all the keys, you hold all the control of your life, and you may shape it in any way that you feel is right. And with love, grace, and blessings, I disconnect my energy from your field and I push all of your energies back. Your energies are sacred. They really are sacred. And I thank you for allowing me to assist. And I send my love to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. I can honestly say that I don't think there's any show like this anywhere. Brings together legal, financial and real core healing. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. So we come to the end of another show, and in the war of divorce and on the battlefield of family separation, always make peace your weapon of choice.